Sorry, can you hear me now, guys? Okay, great. Great, yeah. Sorry about that. There was the issue regarding the Zoom that I had today. Okay, let's see if you can wait for a few more seconds to have more people to the session. Okay, great. Thanks for joining to this session. This session is, we are going to talk about DAX in an hour. In 1 hour, I'm going to give you some information and some overview about DAX. Sorry, Sadanda's asking about the dashboard in an hour. Yep, so that one I emailed you the link for the recording. So I recorded the video and uploaded to my YouTube channel and sent you an email. So you guys should have access to that one now. The Wednesday session we are talking about. You just check your email. You should have received email from me this morning, I think, that I sent you the link for the dashboard in an hour session. Okay. Okay, let's kick that off. Power BI DAX in an hour. Yeah, so for those that you don't know me, my name is Ali Sharifi. I am a Microsoft certified trainer and Microsoft BI consultant and solution expert. I'm also Power BI and DAX trainer and founder of Cloud BI. About Cloud BI is a BI consultancy company where we are providing BI services and helping the businesses to create their BI solution and dashboarding and reporting. I'm also providing Power BI training. We have a couple of sessions Power BI in a day. That is for beginner. We have a comprehensive Power BI training session that it is 2 days. We have 1 day for Power BI DAX and data modeling and one daily session for Power BI advanced visualization. Okay, so let's get about this session agenda. So in this agenda, we are talking most about the DAX foundations, what is DAX and why you need to know about DAX. We will discuss about the difference between the calculated column and measure, and we'll talk about the evaluation context, some sample of calculate function, iterator, and as always, I will take you through some demo lab. And yeah, after the session, I have shared with you the lab materials. It is good that you go and start practicing what I have provided for you guys. At the end of the session, same as always, we have sometimes for question and answer. If you have got some question in the middle, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay. Let me see if we have no one else joining. Right. Okay, so let's see, what is DAX? DAX is the programming language that you need in Power BI and tabular engines to create the formula. So it is similar to Excel function, but somehow it is different. In the beginning, you may find it's very easy to use, but when you have more complex and more enhanced requirement, that's probably need you to have more practice on that to learn it. So DAX is easy, but you need to start practicing and using that to be able to use it for the some kind of the complex business requirements. Okay, so before going to creating a formula with DAX, we should know about the default summarization that we have in Power BI. So in Power BI, normally you can use any numeric values in the reports, and you can use it in the charts by having some aggregation. As a default for all of the numeric value, the default aggregation is sum, but you should be able to go and change the default aggregation for that. So this means that you don't need to create a formula with the DAX to use a numeric field in your charts. If you have created a good and proper summarization for the field, you should be able to go and use it. I will talk about that later in the demo. Okay, so for DAX foundation, normally when you wanted to write, when you want to use DAX in Power BI, you have two ways for using that. One way is using as in a calculated column, and another way is using in a measure. What is the difference between the calculated column and measure? So normally calculated column, you are using that when you wanted to add a column, a new column to your table. So it's a kind of the physical column and takes the physical memory from your table. And the thing is, it will create in row level. So when you are adding a calculate column, it means that for every row, you will add one value. Calculated column belong to a table that you're creating for that. And obviously for using that, you need to use it with the table name. If you wanted to add a column to Power BI, for example, you have the tables that coming from the data source and you want to add a column, you have two options for adding that one. First, you can go to Power Query and add the column by using Power Query features or using mQuery, or you can come in the data model in Power BI desktop and create it via DAX. So both of them is possible, but the best practice is if you can do this by mQuery, do that in mQuery because you will get the better compression over there. But in the mQuery and in Power BI, in Power Query, you have a kind of the limitation that you can't reach to the related table that we are going to talk about after this. Also, when you are using when you want to create a calculated column by using DAX, you are able to reach to the other tables via the relationship. For example, let's say if you are on the sales table and wanted to access one column in product table, you should be able to use it by DAX function in the calculated column. But as I said that in mQuery, it is not available, this one. Okay, before going to the measure, let me to create a couple of the calculated column for you. I have a Power BI data model here that is similar to those ones that we have worked with them in the other sessions. So it's come with sales, connected to date, customer, geography, and product, and then small flags to subcategory product category. Okay, so the first thing, let's say here, let's say we have the table, it is customer, and its customer we have first name, middle name, and last name. But for some reason, for one of the reports, for example, you wanted to have a column as customer name, that is a concatenation of these four columns. So if you want to create this, you can create a calculate column for that. For doing this, just go to the table, click on the three dots over there, and just say new columns. And here it is where you can write DAX. Let me to make it a bit multiple for everyone that can see. Okay, so here you will give it a name. Let's say customer name, and then here you can, because it is in the row level, you can nominate the field name. So I will say that customer first name and one space, and then customer last name. Yeah, that's all. So then now you have a one column here, as you can see here. You have a one column as a customer name, and you can see there is an icon beside that one with the fx that it is the sign that this is a calculated column. Let's see if I create a table that comes from being first name, let's say middle name, last name, and then customer name, then you should be able to see the new column here. For adding middle name, you can go and add it by using another if, let's say, because for some of them, there is no middle name. So I will say if, and here if middle name is blank, we say to use blank. Otherwise, we say use middle name and one space. Now, for those that we have middle name, you should be able to see middle name, first name, and last name. So that was the first example of the creating the calculated column in one table by using DAX. So the next one, let's say if you wanted to create a calculated column in one table referencing another column, how you will do that. For example, here in product table, I have a column, it is a standard cost. And in sales, we have a column quantity, order quantity. So now I wanted to see that based on the standard cost, what is my total, let's say, what is my total cost? If I wanted to bring it as a table, as a column, sorry, just say new column, call it total order cost. And here we can say, give me sales amount. Times by, so this one, because we wanted to reach to the other table, that it is product table, I will say related standard cost. So by using this related function, Power BI engine able to go for each row of the sales, find the related row in the product table and look up the product cost. So now total product cost has been added to sales. If I want to go and see this one, let's say if I add a new table, And let's say this time I will say, give me order number, so, and product name. And from sales, you can bring order quantity and the new column that you have created. So now you can see for every line, so this is every line of the sales table based on the order number and product table. So we can see that based on the order quantity, we have the total cost here. It is good to format it with some kind of a dollar value. Yeah. So you can see how we could create a calculated column in one table and by using some column from the other related table. The last example about the calculated column, so we can create a count of the product price band in the product table. Let's say in product table we have the list price as a column. So, but if you wanted to say, if you wanted to conduct the segment, create a segment for the list price on the product. For example, let's say I wanted to create a new column. I'll call it product price band. And here I would say if price list is less than, let's say, $25, then consider it as low. Another if inside that, say that if price list again, product price list, if it was less than $50, so I would say it is medium. Otherwise, it is high. So now I have this product price band column. So if you wanted to see that how your products actually propagating based on that, or what is the distribution of the product price, you can easily go and create, for example, a chart. Oh, I should click a bar chart, then click on the band, and then let's bring, for example, product name to the values. And so this is the, so we will define count as the summarization, and then this will let you to see the number of the product that you have based on the each band. So you can see, for example, we have 301 that they have the high, they will get under the high band. Also, you can use it. So when you're creating the calculated column, the advantage that you get it, you can use it for filtering the data as well. So if you have a slicer, then you can add this one as a slicer and see the sales for the different value of this column. So for example, here we have all of the sales going to the high ones. Okay. Any question about calculated columns, guys? Cool. Okay, let's get back to the, oh, I did, to the presentation.
I had a question.
Sure. Yep, please.
Put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. So you put in the chat. Sorry, I didn't see the chat. Okay. What happens if you omit related in the DAX formula? So if you remove it, so normally it can't find it. Let's say so if I remove that one, so normally it will repeat all values for everything. Also, it cannot find it. So, it will give you error if you wanted to use it. But if you use, for example, a kind of the summarization or some formula, it doesn't just provide you the related product. It will give you the old product. But without related, you can't use it. You get the error. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
No worries. Okay. Okay, so regarding the measure, in contrary of the calculated column that all was about creating as a physical column in a row level, when you're creating a measure, so it doesn't, it's a kind of the formula. It is just a formula, and it doesn't get any physical memory. So normally in Power BI, we have two types of the, let's say two types of the engine. One engine is a storage engine, and another engine is a formula engine. Measure, they are using the formula engine. So it means that every time that you are creating a measure and using a measure, it's calculating, it's running a query on the data and calculating that. The way that you are creating a measure is similar to this one. So you will say, this is the name of the measure, and then after that you have the expression that can have some of these, one or multiple of these DAX functions. So normally when you are creating a measure, you can you can create it under a table or under a folder, but it doesn't mean that that one belongs to that table. So you just keep it in the table to have easily access to that one. But you can change the table and it doesn't have any impact on this. Also, when you are referring to a measure, you don't need to name the table. So you can use it without naming the table. After creating a measure, you can reuse it in the other measure. For example, let's say when you have profit, that you can say profit is sum of the sales amount minus sum of the cost amount. If you have these two as a basic measure or another measure, you can use it directly. So it's a kind of the reusing the formula as well. And it makes the formula to be more simple. If you have some kind of the complex formula, you can break it down to a different level, and also you should be able to use a kind of the variables to store the temporary result set in the variable and use it as a final result. For example, here, so the name of the measure is mobile sales last year, but for creating that, you can split it to a couple of steps. The first step is providing a set of the product. We call it mobile product, and then the next step is creating storing it another variable. It is last year variable, and then at the last step, it's calculating what do we want, that it is the sum of the sales amount by using those variables that we have created before. So it is it is good to use the variable to make the formula more readable and simple. Okay, so now let's go to the demo. I will create a couple of measures for you. Okay, so the first measure, I will create a measure called it sales, that it is simply sum of sales amount. So now you can see, let's say, the new measure. Let me to create a chart. So that's a new measure that I created. But as I said, that now you can see sales. It is on the sales measure and on the sales under the sales table. But if I wanted to change it, you can go here and you can change the home table. For example, if I wanted to take it to, let's say, product, it will go on the product, but it doesn't have any impact on the functionality of that. So just a placeholder. Let me bring it back to this one, to sales again. Also, you can create some folder in the table and just move those related measure in one folder. Let's say, for example, I will create another measure, call it cost. That this one is sum of total cost column that we created in sales. Okay. Then if I wanted to go to and create a folder, just need to go to the model. And here you have the if you get to here you should be able to create a folder for that. For example, I will say I will create a folder, call it let's say finance measure. So now you can see cost has been moved under this folder. If you want to bring sales here, you should be able to use the same folder. Yep, you can see both of them went under one table. Okay, so now something looks weird to me. So why the number of the sales cost is too high? We shouldn't have that one. Let me check that one. Sales total product cost, and if we get to total product cost, oh, this is sales amount. So that's why we so it should be sales quantity. Your order quantity, sorry. Yep. So it should be order quantity time multiplied by standard cost. Okay, so now looks better. Let's make more sense regarding the cost and sales. Okay, so then let's see how we can reuse the measure that we created. If I create a new measure and call it profit. And this time, if I wanted to use, so profit is sales minus cost. So for using that, just press bracket, then you have sales with no table. Then another one, cost. So now we have profit as well. Okay, cost, sales, and profit. Another measure that you can create it. So now you can see you create some measure, some basic measure, and then more complex measure. Can use the simple measures. It's kind of the creating a hierarchy for the measure. So this one I will say profit percentage to give me the percentage of profit over sales. Divide, I have got profit and I've got sales. This one give me the percentage as well. Let me to just add country name to our chart. Yep, so now it looks better. If I wanted to add percentage, probably I can go to this one, I cluster chart with line, and now you can add profit to the line as well. So you should be able to see the percentage, but the format is not right. Just format it. Yep. So now you should be able to see all of the measure in one chart. Another chart that, let's see if we create a line chart by using profit percentage and months. Yep, you should be able to see the percentage by the months as well. So this is how the measure is allowing you to use the DAX formula for creating some, for providing some answer to the business requirement. Okay, any question for, okay, so you use profit percentage is non-alphabetical character. Yep, you can use it. Yeah, for measure name, you can use the non-alphabetical character as well. That's okay. Okay, if there is no question for that, we can go to the next section. That is okay. So after understanding the difference between measure and calculated columns, we need to know about the evaluation context. So it is important to know what is the evaluation context in Power BI. So there are two contexts that we have under evaluation context. So we call it evaluation context because based on how we have created the DAX formula, Power BI using one of these contexts. So the first context is row context, that when you are creating a calculated column or when you want to iterate to a table, so Power BI will go to the row level. So it will go row by row and do the calculation, and then after that aggregate the results. In the other side, we have the filter context. Filter context is where you wanted to access a table, or when you want to filtering a table, or when in the charts you wanted to have show some aggregated one. So filter context is the result set of the combination of all of the filters that coming from the different part of the report. So it can be a slicer, it can be charts, or it can be from DAX formula. So regarding the row context, as I said, that it's evaluated row by row, and so For each row, the formula go to each row and calculate the value and then aggregate it. But in filter context, the result set is the result of the combination of the filter. For example, here you have this as a table chart, but if you look at this one, so this is 284 dollar. So this is the result of the sales for year 2015 when the state is HI, and it is for quarter one. So this is how the filter context help Power BI to provide the result based on what you're using in the visual. So here, formula is evaluated for each coordinated of the visuals, and also the context is based on the filter. Okay, so now after this, it is very important that when you are creating the report and you want to use DAX, it is very important to know and have a skill of using calculate function. Calculate function is the most important function in DAX. It's kind of the heart of DAX. So normally, for any complex scenario, we need to go to calculate column. For example, here you can see that if you have some requirements same as this, so you wanted to show this total sales by months, but on the other side, the business asks you to show the total sales for different, let's say, category. So for category desktop sales, you wanted to show that what is the total sales for that category for, let's say, for different months, and also for other category, tablet sales or mobile sales, for example, here. So here, total sales, we can answer this question by creating a simple DAX here, by a simple sum function. We should be able to provide the answer for this. But for the other ones, we need to do we need to apply filtering. So we should apply filter on sales amount based on each of these categories. That's why we need to understand how the calculate function works and when to use it. This is the syntax of calculate function. So normally, calculate functions you have, and at the first part you have the expression that can be a measure or it can be a DAX formula. And after that, you can have 0, 1, or multiple filter applied to that expression. So what you are getting at the result is the result of this filter on the expression. Okay, sorry, just lost the page. Okay, so for example, for our example that we wanted to see the desktop sales, so we will create a new measure for desktop sales and saying that calculate total sales when this column here is campaign device equal desktop. So that one, by using that one, it will apply this filter to the measure, and then you can use it as a separate measure in the tables here. So here you have the new measure, desktop sales, and you have the total sales from your original measure. Okay, so when you are using calculate, normally calculate working in 4 ways. It's adding the filter, or it can ignore the filter. So when, for example, some filters coming from outside from the chart or a slicer, calculate can ignore them, or it update and change the filter. And also in sample, it converts row context to filter context. So now for each of these scenario, I'm going to create a sample for each of them to to help you to understand it. Okay, let me to get to the demo again. Where's my demo? Is here. Okay. So let's see here. We have the product category that is connected to the sales table. Yep. If I add, sorry. If I add the table visuals with month name, and sales, oh, here's my month name. Okay, it has two, month name and same. So when you are filtering based on each of these product category, you should be able to see the different result for sales. But if you wanted to say, if you wanted to conduct the columnar way, wanted to compare the value for each of these product category against the total sales, so we need to create calculate. So for example, creating sales amount for each of them is a simple one, but sometimes it get more complex. For example, they wanted to see what is the percentage of the share of each category to the other category, or if they wanted to see the some kind of the margins, or they wanted to see the rank of the sales based on each category. So here, in the sales, I will create a measure, call it sales accessories. And in the formula, I will use calculate. You can see calculate come as a function, and then you can see the format of this. So here, I would say just give me sales amount. So sales is my expression. But I would say that when product category equal accessory, hopefully no misspelling. Okay, so then if I add this, so now you can see, we can format it, do it later, that's one. So now we can see that accessory, what is the sales amount for each for the accessories for each month. If I wanted to go for the next of them, let's say I will create new measure, call it sales price equal, same calculate sales, and I will say category product category equal price. Then I can bring it here. The next one, I can go and create one for sales clouding. So calculate sales when product category equal clouding. So you can see for that one. So what is happening here? So what we did, we just add the filter to the measure. Now, without selecting anything here, you can see the data has been filtered based on the different product category. And if we go to the different here, we should see the different value based on the what we selected. So the interesting thing here, so when we are using accessories or when we are using bike, so those value doesn't get changed. Can you see that? So by changing any of these categories, so the only thing that is changing is sales, because this is when you are creating a filter in calculate, that's override the filter for the same column that coming from the outside. That's a kind of ignoring. Okay, so that was adding the filter. Let's go for create some other scenario when it's ignoring the filter. Oops. I think I created this stuff in the wrong place. We should go to the first page. Okay, so now we have some slicer for calendar year, country name, and state. Let's go to copy that one to save time. And this time, let's just keep that one. Okay. So this time I wanted to ignore the filter that's coming from these two, country name and state name. So if I go to create a measure and call it sales all geography location, calculate same part, the stay same, but for the second part, what we can use this function all. Okay, so before going to the to complete the measure, so in DAX we have two kind of the functions. So some of the functions, they are scalar functions, same as sum, average, mean, or max, that they return just one value for you. But we have other type of the function that they are table functions. So in the table function, they are returning multiple rows to you. Some sample of the table function, they are all that it's get the one table or one column as the input parameters, and based on that, it is return you the some number of the rows that is on that table or on that column based on the filter that's coming from the report. Okay, we have some other sample of the table function. We have all except, sorry, all non-blank row, all selected, filter values, these things, all of them, they are kind of the table function. So for this one, when we say all, and then we can say geography. Geography is a table. Yep. So when we say all geography, it means that ignore any filters that's come from the outside. Outside, it means the slicer or the chart, and just calculate the sales amount for all of the rows that you have in geography. So when I add this one, so you can see at the moment they are same. Yep. Sales and sales all geo, they are same for each month's name. But if I select country name, so now you can see by selecting country name, sales is changing, but the second part, sales all geo, will be unchanged. So no change for that one, because by using all, we are ignoring. Even when we are selecting something from state or province, this doesn't change because we say that used for all of the geo table. Okay, so another one, let's say how we can use it for just specifically ignoring the filter for specifically one column. So if I wanted to say, ignore the filter coming from country name, but apply the filter that come from state, I can create another measure and call it sales all country. And say calculate. This time, again, sales, and this time I will say all, but instead of the geography, I will say geography country name. This one is, by using that, we are specifically saying that ignore the filter coming from country name, not from all of the job. Let's see, when we add this. Oh. Okay, so when we add this, by changing the filter on country name, it doesn't change the all geo and all country, yeah, because we have said that ignore it. But if I go and use an state, so you can see sales on country, it is changing. Can you see? So filter by state have impact on sales on country, but doesn't have impact on sales or geo. Does it make sense for you guys? Any question you have? Okay, so another one, sometimes you wanted to allow the filter to come from a slicer. If you wanted to enable the slicer filter on the measure, but not the other one. So what you can do, you can use all select. Calculate sales, and this one is saying another table function that is all selected country name. So this one is saying that ignore all of the filter that coming from for country, except those filter that coming from slicer. So if I go here for Germany, oh, sorry, I didn't add it. First, I need to add it. Okay, so now you can see all selected country, all countries, and all geo, they have same. If I select from a slicer, so you can see that these two are same, but this is different. If I select multiple value from a slicer, so this one get changed. So by using this, you allow that filter come from a slicer here. Yeah, does it make sense for you guys? Let me check the chat room to see if any. Okay, no question. Okay, so this was how you can ignore the filter from by using calculate. Another one is when you can update the filter. For example, here, bring that again. So by selecting the different year, you can see the different value for sales amount. But if you wanted to compare, let's say if you wanted to compare sale of 2016, 17, or 18, whatever you are selecting with sales for some specific year, what you can do. So in this way, you need to use calculate. Let's say I wanted to create a sales amount only for 2016 and just compare every year with that. I will call it sales 2016 equal, and where calendar year, date calendar year equal 2016. Okay, so now for 2016, both of them, they have same value, but if I select the other one, you can see 2000 sales 2016 will stay unchanged. And then this is how you can compare the sale of the months for different year by 2016. Let's say 2016 is the reference year for you here. You wanted to see how the other years performing comparing with that one. So in that way, calculate, update the filter. So filter coming as 2017 to this DAX measure, but because we have used the filter in the calculated one, filter in calculate will override that the filter that coming from the slicer. Okay, we have 1 p.m. Probably I will ignore this one. It's not too much important. I will go to iterate. Let's go to okay. So we have another type of the working using a DAX formula. We call it DAX iterated function. So DAX iterated function is the way that you can force formula to go from filter context to row context. So it will go through the tables row by row and calculate the values, but it doesn't use the kind of the in-memory calculated column. So you are using the formula engine to iterate through the tables and do a kind of the calculations. For example, in this example, in this formula, we have a sales table. Sorry, before that, those iterated functions, normally they ended with X. For example, sum X, average X, max X. So those iterated table, they ended with X. So they have two parts. The main part is a table name or table function. So it can be a one table name or can be a result of the running filtering or some kind of the DAX function that on the table. So this is the where that you tell the iterated function what is the table or what is the data set that it needs to go through and iterate row by row. And then the second part is the expression when you are nominating the formula. For example, here is saying that for every row, go and multiply units to the related table that is product and unit cost, and then calculate this value row by row, and at the end, it will aggregate it on the top level. So this is how does it work. You have the tables, this is the sales table, and you have the unit and product ID. So it will go iterate through each row, and then for each row, it will propagate and will find the related record on the product table based on the product key that we have, find out the price, and then use it for multiply. So this is good way if you will compare it with calculated column. It is sometimes it is good way to use iterated function. Probably most of the time when you have the very big table and you don't want to spend a lot of memory for calculated table, iterated function is good way for doing this. Okay, so now let's go to demo, do we have? Okay, we don't have. So in demo, if I create new measure and call it total cost, then sum x. Here I will say sales table, and then from sales table I will say order quantity as we did in the calculated column times related, and this is list price in product table. Okay, so this is the formula. And then here, let's say for bring that table visual. Okay, we have sales. Let's ignore this one. So we have total cost. You can see that how the iterated formula will calculate it and bring it back. Other usage of that, when you wanted to create an average for one value. For example, here you wanted to see what is the average of the sales for each country. What you can do, you can easily go say AVG sale by country. Equal average X. Here you will say, give me the tables that says, and then says amount. So this one, oh sorry, no, average X, I will say values of, because I want to show based on the country name. Okay, so I'm saying that give me the values of the country names. That's a kind of the table function, and calculate the average sales for that. So by using this, you have the average sales for each country. For example, you can use it here as well, or you can create a chart with this average and also country name. So this is the average sales that you have got based on each country, and this is the average sale for total of the countries. Yep, so I think we have covered everything. If you guys have any question, anything to ask. Okay, in the context of the physical memory, can you explain the difference between formula engine and storage engine? This is with respect of the measure and calculate. Yep, so the difference between them. So when you are using the storage engine, it's same as if you are familiar with the SQL. Do you know how in SQL you are joining the table to each other to get the result set? So it do the same. So it's joining to the tables to each other, and it's using the memory. It doesn't use the CPU. Yep. So for sometimes it is better to, normally when you're using the storage engine, you will get the better performance because it doesn't need to have much CPU and it is in memory and fast. But yeah, formula engine, I need to run a query and use the CPU to calculate it. So that's a difference between these two. But selecting between this measure and calculated column is come to the requirements based on the requirement, size of the model, complexity of the formula. That's a different factor if you want to choose it. But normally we say that you better to move all of the calculations to the backend part, not to the front end part. It means that move all of the calculation even to the data source. Then if you couldn't do that, implement the calculation, the transformation in Power Query. If you couldn't do that, do them in a calculated column, and at the last option, you can create a measure for it if you couldn't do that. Yep. Does it make sense? Did it answer your question? Okay, great. Okay, if there is no question, guys, we can finish the session. As always, thanks for joining. Please don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, and just waiting for the next session.com. Hopefully, I can provide you more information and knowledge about the Power BI elements and platform. Okay, thank you. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.